Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar by Phrase. Thank you for taking the time to join us today to see our webinar about how to leverage a software localization tool for managing multilingual product copy. My name is Clara, and I am with Phrase's marketing team as an event specialist, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all here today. Today, we are going to be talking about our tool Phrase Strings that will help you to manage your multilingual product copy. And the speaker and the presenter today is Yiwen Chen, our APAC account executive. So I will now hand over to her. The floor is yours, Yiwen, and everybody enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Clara, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Yiwen, and I am the APAC account executive from Phrase. Today's agenda starts with a brief intro about Phrase as a company, followed by Phrase Strings intro, and close with the demo and the QA session. So who we are. Phrase is a leading translation technology provider in the space of localization. As a company, we are a global team working from our offices in Hamburg, Germany, and Prague, Czech Republic, as well as from home across Europe, the UK, the US, and the Asia Pacific region. We are supporting translation and localization needs for some of the most known brands across different markets. As you can see on the screen right now, we're especially strong when it comes to innovative solutions like machine translation and automation, including the use of AI technology. But today we are focusing on one specific pillar of our technology, Phrase Strings, which is a software localization platform that developers, designers, product managers, and translators can work with to efficiently manage multilingual software copy, as Clara mentioned in the intro. Before we jump into Phrase Strings introduction, I'm pretty sure some of us are asking, yes, I do localize my software into multiple languages, but how Phrase Strings is related to me? Let's look into a typical, or we can say, problematic workflow of a mobile app localization workflow. We have a client, which is a SaaS company, and they try to localize its mobile app into 10 languages to expand their global market. And this is how their workflow looks like. Their application UI is designed on Figma. So every time if there's comes with the UI localization request, the designers need to export the design copies to developers. Developers will then convert the Figma copies into editable file format, like, for example, Excel, XML, YML, or any other file formats for their external freelancers or in-house translators for translation. And during course of the translation, there might be some changes in terms of layout or UI text, which will complicate the whole process again. From this workflow, we can see three major problems. First is time consuming. Developers and designers wasting their time on file conversion, handling software copies. Imagine if you would translate into 1 or 2 language, this kind of workflow you can still stand with. But imagine if you are going to translate into 10 languages, that will be a lot of work. Secondly, there's no context for translators. Lack of context like screenshot, communication during the workflow, term basis, translation memories can lead to lower translation quality and errors when the developer import the software translation back to their instance. Lastly, but not least, no transparency for all team members. Product team, design team, they don't have control on project progress. Everyone is waiting for each other, spending time on back and forward checkup. And this kind of communication can lead to longer time to market for your application. Hence, Phrase Strings is the tool designed to solve the mentioned pain points. Phrase Strings is a string repository solution So it's typically used by the client as a source of truth for managing any key value-based content for mobile or web-based applications. It allows different stakeholders to have access to project progress and easily transfer the content via integration, API, or command line interface that developers usually are used to it in their desired file format. Also, translators or UX writer can either translate in online editor in phrase strings, or if it is required more sophisticated machine translation or CAT features, content can be synchronized to the other of our product, Phrase TMS, to do the localization process. In today's demo, I will walk you through the standard workflow from creating the project to downloading the file. After this, we will watch a short clip prepared by our solution architect about how a company using Figma for UI design can leverage Phrase Figma integration to save their time. So let's jump into demo right now. So here you can see that this is the phrase strings environment. As you can see, I have set up several projects in this. In every created project, you can import keys. And here you can see we have multiple spaces here. You can imagine spaces are like a folder structure. In every spaces, you can group certain amount of project so that you don't get a messy workbench. So I will just quickly walk you through the project creating process. So you just simply click the button on the upper right corner to create a new project. And of course, we will need to give a title. And for the demo purpose, I will using simple JSON file as a main format, but it doesn't mean that in this project you can only process simple JSON. But just by default, when we later upload our file, it will apply the simple JSON parser for us. After I click save, it will bring us to the project setting wizard. So here we can set up the language. So here for the languages, for example, like English, you can choose to determine different kind of locale. And I will just probably add a few more languages. So we will just add English of Australia, Chinese, and Thai for this project. And here it will bring you to uploading the file, but for this demo project, I want to skip right now. I just want to activate a specific feature called pre-translation, because it will allows me to use translation memory. Translation memory means all the keys that you have translated in the past that you can leverage in the future project. And the second, I want to also enable machine translation. So far, I do not want to. I want to make it automatically that every time I upload the key, it will translate. But in the real workflow, of course, you can enable it. I just stop from here because I want to show you how the linguist can interact with the untranslated keys. After I set up the project successfully, I can direct to languages here, and I can upload my file. So I will just choose my simple JSON file. And it's important to choose which language you are injecting your source keys. Here you can see we have the tag features that allows, it serves as a filtering function. So you can add the add a tag to a specific group of keys so that you can search or within the project or across the project, or even later on when you download the keys, you don't have to download the whole keys in a certain project. You can just download part of them. After I import, you can see a simple statics here, like how many keys are created, tags are created, and translation are created. And let's look at the language tab. So by default, my default locale is English US, and the source is show as 100% translated. Before I proceed into the job assigning translation, I would like to perform some key management task. So this is the phrase strings editor. Developers or localization manager will be able to perform some key management tasks. For example, you will be able to add a screenshot. And we also allow user to add Figma's link, so that if you have any change on Figma, it will show in the editor real time for your translators. But for this demo, I will just put the screenshot here. For these keys, I would like to add the character limit. And furthermore, I can also add some description on your right-hand side. After I have done, I have provided some necessary context for my translators, I will be able to assign a task to my translators. But in order to assign the task to your translator, you will need to add them into your project. For adding people into your phrase strings instance, you will need to navigate to the user tabs. Inviting people is quite simple and intuitive. You simply just tap insert their email address. And you can say we provide 6 roles that the administrator or project manager can choose. If I choose translator, I can specify which language will this translator be relevant, and to which project or even spaces this translator will have access to. And if you regularly working with a group of translators, it is recommended to use team feature to group a certain amount of people together, so that you don't have to, when you assign a project to, for example, translators, you don't have to assign them one by one. Since I already have my translator added in the my phrase account, so I can just jump into my project. Translator. So then I can navigate to the job tab to create a job. Job is like an assignment or probably some people is used to say call it like a workflow feature. So here you can put some briefing, and if you are using Jira or Trello as a ticketing system, you can put the URL here. So if there's any changes, it will be synchronized to your Jira or Trello. So here I want to translate all the keys here, and I will just add the language here and select the person. And furthermore, you will be able to save this assignment like a template. So for example, save it as a template. So the next time you can just create a job from your template. You don't have to set everything one by one. In order my translators can get the notification, I will need to click the start the job. So all stakeholders, or let's say translator in this context, will receive email notification. They will have the link that they can log into their Phrase account to perform translation task. So they will pretty much see the similar interface like this page, and they will be able to click it. It will lead translator into the editor. So translator will be able to customize editor's view. So for example, they can probably use the dark mode, or they can change the card layout like in the vertical split, or the right-hand bar. They can decide what to show, what not to show, or in what kind of ordinary. And what is good for the translator is that without leaving the editor, the translator will have access to all kinds of information shared by the project manager. And when I click, for example, here, this segment, I will have access to the machine translation and translation memory that I have already translated in the past. And if there's any terminology, it will also be shown here. And we will have, we can see the screenshot we have attached, and also different kind of information. Even the if I happen to be the multilingual translator, I can see what kind of translation is shown in other language pairs. So for the demo purpose, I will use pre-translate feature to pre-translate from the machine translation or translation memory. So here, when everything is done, we can go back to the your linguist can navigate to their job dashboard, and they can see, I can see that everything is translated and everything is fine, and I will mark the job as completed. Once the linguist mark the job as completed, then project manager will receive a notification that you can proceed into the downloading phase. So developers can basically download the finished translation. It doesn't have to be the simple JSON that I have uploaded. It can be even, for example, Excel, and you can choose the different kind of parameter based on the file format you are exporting. And as I mentioned, you can use tag to just export the part of your keys. So this is pretty much about the standard workflow. I just want to highlight some of the integration we have with Phrase phrase strings. So one is in context editor. If you are localizing web application and you would like to provide your translator with more context, you can actually integrate with your website with phrase. So your translator basically can see how their translation looks like on the website. Like this. And it provides all kinds of the information, just as the same as they do in the standard phrase strings editor, but they will see how the whole layout looks like and how their translation perform in the website after they localize it. So and the other interesting feature I would like to introduce is over-the-air features. So we do provide some we do provide a possibility, especially for mobile app localization, that customers can use SDK to call the latest translation from your phrase strings instance, rather than to wait for the next release in App Store or Google Play. So you can by standard, when you create a release, it will be in the development environment. But after you click publish, it will go to your end users. Okay. And I think this is pretty much about what we are going to show in the phrase strings environment. Then we can jump into the Figma integration.
That I've got a project set up already with some locales which are defined. I have no keys in this project at this point in time, but what I want to do now as a UX designer, for example, is I want to push my translatable content from a Figma design into a phrase strings project, and also to provide the visual context to the translators, also upload the screenshots as well to that particular project. So I can do this. I'm going to select all my content here. I'm going to run the plugin, which is phrase strings. Now, see, what's happening right now is that the content is being visualized, and the key names are actually taken from the labels of the text layers that I've provided here. You have the ability then to modify the key names by the plugin if you want to do that. It's very useful if you're able to agree on a key naming structure, right? Even during the design process. Might not always be the case, but you do have the flexibility then to be able to modify the key names a bit later. What we want to do now is push this content and the screenshots, as you can see here, into this project, the Figma integration product tour project. So I'll just click on it now. And as you can see, you're kept up to date with the progress of the push. And once that's done, you can then either via the plugin itself, open the content directly in the phrase strings interface. So now go back to my project. You can see now that we've got some keys that have been incorporated into the platform. What I did in my project settings in this case was actually enable this parameter that all new keys which are imported will be automatically pre-translated, which wasn't the setting that I enabled in the first project scenario. So we can see, right, that all the content has been translated already. We then navigate into the editor. You can see here that we've got our translations, which are coming from, in this case, I would assume, from machine translation, sorry, from translation memory in this case. The screenshots, of course, per key are associated with the relevant keys, which are being localized. And of course, I pre-translated everything already, but, a linguist would then go through the process of performing the translations. Once they're done, and, the UX designer is informed of the fact that the translations have been completed, they can then, let me make this a bit smaller. They can then pull the translations directly into their Figma project. Again, we pull up the plugin here. And you can see here that we've got this tab for pull translations to Figma. Here, I'm going to select my language, German. See that the German translations are being visualized here in the plugin. And then if we click on continue, we have the option here for creating a new page with translated content or overriding the existing design with the translations. I think in most cases, you want to create a new page with the translated content. As you can see here, we now have our German translations, which are being, been imported again into the Figma project. And so I can, as a UX designer, I can then perform some validation testing, right? In case there, for example, some issues with text overspill or truncation or things like that, and make necessary adjustments then for this particular design. So that covers the Figma integration.
Okay, so I think we have covered most of the talking points about today's phrase strings introduction. We can proceed into the QA session. So I will pass the floor to Clara.
Yes, thank you very much, Yuan. So I will now share my screen with the questions. There we go. There are some questions already. We are using Slido to collect the questions. So let's proceed with the first one. I am a designer, but we use Sketch, not Figma. Can strings integrate with Sketch?
Yes, we do have integration with Sketch. So we introduced Figma today because there are a lot of really interesting feature going around with Figma. But of course, we do support Sketch. But it will be great if we can look into your workflow, how you usually work with Sketch, and we can perhaps schedule a dedicated demo with you.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question, can you use phrase strings to translate documents, for example, in Word or PDF format?
Well, as I mentioned in the early introduction, phrase strings is more oriented for the, let's say, the key value or key-based document or let's say product. If you happen to translate in Word or PDF or any kind of word like documentation, we will recommend to look into the other product called Phrase TMS. It has dedicated CAD features and it processes well with, for example, Microsoft Office file formats like Word, PowerPoint, and any other file formats. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Yuan. There are no other questions at the moment. So thank you very much for the presentation and for the demo today. As I saw a couple of people joined during the webinar a little bit later, so let me recap that we are recording this webinar, or we have been recording this webinar, and we will be distributing the recording automatically to everyone tomorrow, so you can rewatch from the beginning to see the parts that you probably missed at the start. So thank you very much and have a good day, everyone. See ya. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.